Yes, welcome my viewers and subscribers to another week of Mellache TV analysis Thursdays. Yes, my viewers, I know as usual, I have to big up the big man himself, Mr. Floyd Wright, aka Professor. Welcome, Professor.
Yeah, man, Mellache, as usual. Appreciate to be on and looking forward for another wonderful show as usual.
Yes, my viewers, we're down to the last week in the JDCA double six Domino League. Yes, my viewers. So I know some of you team get knocked out, and some of your team reach the finals. Yes, so it was an excited preliminary rounds. Yes, excited league. Yes, my viewers, the first we've ever seen so many teams entered in the JDCA league, or even the Portmore League. Right, Professor? There's so
Yes,
many teams, we
man.
never have so many teams entered the Portmore League either.
Yeah, man. I think we had 20 already. Yeah, man. We had years that gone that we had 20 teams in the league,
Okay.
but it
Yes,
don't
my
it doesn't happen
viewers.
quite often.
So what we have lined up tonight, we have the JDCA president will be on tonight, and also the technical director for JDCA. Yes, Miss Mrs. Trishan Mason Hemans. Yes. So they're also backstage now. So we're going to add Mr. Dwayne Bailey and Trishan Mason on stage. Yes, Mr.
Good
President,
night, everyone.
Dwayne Dwayne Bailey, Mr. President himself. Welcome, sir.
Good night, good night. Always a pleasure to pass through Mellache TV.
Yes, and also Miss Trishan Mason Heeman, the technical director of JDCA Double Six Down No League. Hi, Trishan, welcome.
Good night. It's a pleasure. I've always watched it
Oh,
live, so it's a pleasure to be here live.
okay, great, great, great. All right, Mr. President, can you give us a little rundown on what would happen on Sunday?
Most
Firstly,
definitely. Let me first of all say I want to applaud the efforts of Mellache TV so far in covering the sport, not only in the JDCA officiated activities, but dominoes in general. I know that you travel a lot to ensure that there is highlights relating to the sport, and I think that you and your team are doing a good job. So let me just point that out first. Um, Also, now in terms of Sunday, we are at the climax, so to speak, in terms of this year's championship. It has been a very long season. We have seen a little bit of everything. We have seen upsets. We have seen giants and stalwarts taking center stage. We have been given quite a feast in terms of the domino for this year, and I think that we are, at one of the most interesting, at the end of one of the most interesting seasons that we have seen, coming through the years. We were down to the last day in determining the top eight teams to make it to the knockout round. And at that point, we were still uncertain of the fate of about four teams, whether or not they would have been in the top eight. And in addition to that, there were a lot of other teams that had not been seeded, depending on their results or results of others. So great season for us. On Sunday, it's gonna be an amazing event. We are gonna have the final as well as the third and fourth playoff being held at Pembroke Hall Community Center. It will play out to be a great day of domino. We invite everyone to come out and enjoy themselves, watch the highlights, watch the sparks fly. The teams in the finals have a little bit of a short term history. So, as up three, who are the favorites and defending champions, were only upset once this season. And interestingly, it was against the other finalists, which is Central. Central finished sixth in the competition and are now in the final. So it's just gonna be an amazing day of domino. We are blessed with a few persons who will be looking to pass through. We know that the team boom is gonna be there to energize, and we may have some representation from Sampars, who has an interest in domino, and also the JOA normally gives us some representation just to sit in and look over the proceedings. So a great day of domino in store. If you miss it, you will miss a gem. Domino 101 will also be live and in operation, doing some of the streaming, gathering some of the data and information while we continue to look at how we can improve the sport. But it's gonna be a great day. I know it's gonna be a great match to close on the day.
Okay, great. All right. Miss Trishan, Miss Iman, could you tell us your role at JDCA?
My role at the JDCA is to ensure that we have that the that we have everything in order to play domino. Because domino is a game that they play, and we ensure that the referees are there on time. Ensure that we have referees set for all games, furniture for the games. Um, the venues are set. The venues are packed. So that's my role to ensure that all the venues are packed. Um, to ensure that we keep in dialogue with the clubs or the captains or managers for each club to ensure that we have a steady or a more effective game. So every Sunday or every week, we have to call to ensure that everybody can make it and all of that. So that our referees or the other team doesn't go out and go out and know that there will not be a game and then they sit there and we have any hiccups or so. So my role is to ensure that we have a smooth running for the competition, JDCA.
Okay, thanks a lot. All right, Mr. Bailey. Question to you, sir. Do you ever think about having a permanent uh, playing hall for domino for the JDCA competition?
Well, I have thought about it at some point, but I think that it really and truly would be taking a step backwards. When we look at domino, domino is wanted and needed in so many areas, and I am looking towards the future where we have multiple options and we give back to multiple communities as opposed to confining it to one area or one parish. Would love to know that we are allowing persons to travel and to meet other people and to introduce or reinforce what is already there within these communities. So, from my perspective, what I would love to see is that we are having a strong rotation and finding adequate spaces that we can afford to bring the domino to the rest of the world. So that's the vision that I have in terms of a venue or a location. Yes, we would want to know that we have all the material and equipment, as Trish said earlier, and even recent events showed us that the importance of having all of that equipment in place. But in terms of a physical space, that's something that we are not looking to expound on as at right now.
Okay, because I was just going to ask Mrs. Heman the same question, about equipments and furnitures for the sport. So like you said, that's definitely a way you're looking forward to get some equipments for the JDCA. But question though, um, is JDCA, is it is it a body or a club?
It is a body, it's a regulating body. It's a non-profit organization, naturally, but it is a governing body, um, with all respect.
Okay, so the national team came from JDCA.
Yes, we were tasked with inducting a national team because of our affiliations with multiple fraternities and organizations internationally. We are looked at as the presiding body for Domino, and we continue to try and not only be inclusive in terms of persons that are talented and also meet certain requirements, the discipline being one of the main ones. We include persons whether they participate in or out of our governed leagues. We try to be very inclusive, and we spread the domino, so to speak, when we think of it from a national or an international standpoint.
Okay, Professor.
Yes, on top of the evening, doing and Trishan. All right,
Blessings, Prof.
all right,
Even
I even just going to probably both you guys probably take this question I asked. And what were the overall goals and objectives for the 2024 season? And were they achieved?
All right. That question is very broad, but I'll try to
Yes.
take a jab at it. We would have met some of our goals. We would have exceeded in some areas. We are still not quite there with a few, but I think that I would definitely say it has been a successful season. We're able to go through. We put pen to paper in terms of what we wanted from a league standpoint. We're able to satisfy. We are now at the final of what was a very tough season, but we were able to come or to bring things to a close. Um, we were able to become attractive to a few entities, which is initially what we had wanted. We weren't able to benefit in any lucrative way financially, but we do have a number of eyes looking at Domino right now, with plans or trying to get themselves prepared to come on board next season with some meaningful attention where Domino is concerned. So we consider a few of those as gains. As mentioned and as seen on the flyer, we were able to get Boom to really come on board. They would have been beyond the time frame for a financial injection, but they are very much interested next year. They have been at a few of our events. We'll be there on Sunday as well. So that's one good investment. Sampars would have been a kind of a private sponsor in terms of product. They have given us some gift baskets. We thank them for it. They are looking to do so again because we want to make some presentations when we do the presentations to the teams. And Sampars has once again pledged to give us some product. Um, and there are a few other private persons who gave us some pledges as well. Prefer to remain anonymous, but they are looking forward to 2025. So I think that 2024, in essence, not meeting some of those goals, but at the same time being able to establish a link and to kind of build a bridge so that when next year comes, we should be looking a lot better in a number of ways. Great to see that we got that much inclusion as it relates to the domino. We stretched the borders to the limits. We came from Kingston and St. Andrew and St. Catherine, and we came into Clarendon, and we had it. We added, I think, three brand new teams and a number of persons who would have been new to the format of domino that we play during this competition. So I would say those are all wins. We have a lot more persons registered this year as opposed to last year, and a lot more persons with additional interest in coming on board. Or injection of international players who would have either traveled to play in some of the preliminary fixtures, as well as some that have flown in just for the knockout stages. That also adds to what we are looking to build on. The interest for the sport is there. Persons have been reaching out and contacting the JDCA, trying to get information as it relates to the sport, and I consider all of those to be wins. So that for me, speaks to how well we are progressing, and by we, I mean Domino in general and all its audience, the family, whether it be from the 20 clubs that were registered with us to the players to the individual clubs, as well as us, the board. So I hope that kind of makes some sense as to what you were inquiring of.
Yeah, man, because it
Okay.
was a general statement, and I just want to make a follow up. I heard a lot what you're saying, and you did mention a few sponsor. I don't know if I should call them sponsors, but yeah, sponsors who have contributed.
Potential.
Yes, what are potential sponsors? What are the issues you have with sponsorship or funding during this 2024 season?
All right.
And
So
and what would have caused not the competition rather to have a tiger sponsor, for argument's sake?
I think that the narrative right now, Prof, is that a lot of these companies are looking for returns, right? The companies came under severe pressure stemming from COVID-19, which surprisingly I'm told that it's still very much a thing. We Jamaicans tend to overlook it, but the companies make note of the fact that they are struggling. Um, they are not as they are not making as much as they would in previous times, and then they look at what they are gaining back from Domino, and they are discouraged in a number of ways. One being that Domino persons who play Domino or are in Domino tend to deviate or gravitate towards a certain type of product or brand. So we're not very attractive to a lot of these potential sponsors because they don't know if or how they can make back something from Domino.
Just before you move on, Dwayne, just move
Yeah.
on, because I wanted to get it straight. What you did mention that the sponsors believe that the domino um, fraternity moved to a particular direction. What direction did they mention regarding to align with your product?
Let me give an example.
Yes.
There was one brand that we initially garnered interest from. I think the home brand or the host brand is Fagmore,
Mhm.
and what they do is they have a number of companies beneath them. Those companies distribute like household products, um, ho- grocery kind of products, right? They don't see, whereas they are able to push or get any kind of attention for those kinds of things, because what they see Domino as, we tended to push an image in early times to say that Domino is basically a bar sport. So companies feel like they don't gain a lot because everybody is looking to Domino. Who is looking at Domino is looking at a man that's going to come with a special in him hand or a bottle in his hand, because he's gonna be drinking or consuming alcoholic beverage. So they don't look at it from a broad spectrum, and that's the narrative that I'm currently fighting with, because the truth is Domino is inclusive of so many other persons. I know other persons in Domino right now who would not drink a single cup of coffee, but they would definitely want to know that they are able to promote and participate or utilize some of those products that Fagmore is willing to give. So
But do
it's
we
a
just
task for me now to make thing. Yes.
just to interject here? It's quite, and that is one of the reasons as the Domino fraternity and award, and I'm talking all stakeholders, not only you as administrators. And I believe that narrative that is being pushed is not necessarily so because well, if you realize that the most of the if not three quarter, not all persons who comes to Domino are from a family, and that is where you probably could market it from, or we could niche it and look at it because not only because they come out on a Sunday to participate and it's mostly that bars, it's not accredited with family. So that could something that we as stakeholders could even shift that narrative that we are not just come to play some dominoes by a bar, but we do go back to our families, and if we are selling family product, that's where we can move the marketing towards. What are your thoughts?
Yes, man, and that's we are arguing the same point, Prof. That's what I've been trying to sell to these companies. But I'll tell you something about image. It is very easy to break down. Sorry, very easy to build, but hard
Mm.
to break down. I don't know if I'm saying it the right way. For us to change the mindset of persons, it takes time and effort for us to be consistent in showing what they are willing to see as opposed to what they already hold on to. And that's why I said, it is something that's going to take time to change, and it is
Mm.
something that I will continue to push. My team will continue to push. And that's the reason why we were able to become attractive to some parts, because they saw and they heard the feedbacks and they got the reviews, and we sent them the pictures and the images and showed them. Persons got a gift basket from some parts and were really elated about it. There were some pictures where family could be observed, and it's pushing that narrative to them, and that's why they are continuing to commit.
So
Well, they are continuing to. Sorry.
Dwayne, all right, like how
Yeah.
you mentioned, um, the perspective out there is that domino is more of a bar sport. So why is it so hard to get sponsor from Red Stripe or Jerry
Alpha.
and Nevia, or even Flow and Digicel, because everybody use credit, everybody have them phone number and stuff like that. So why is it so hard to get sponsor from those companies?
Right. So and that's what I was explaining. A lot of the companies speak about the fact that the ROI is low.
Mm.
Um, they are of the impression that they don't stand to gain from Domino because of, and it's just the narrative that is there. We can continue to push, and what we continue to push is what they will eventually see and try to buy in. And that's why I said that I think we're going a step in the right direction, because The instant we get one or two of these giants to come and see and basically play a hand in Domino, then we will eventually start getting the recognition from the other proprietors, and they will eventually also come on board.
Yeah, but I
So
did
we
mention
at the
Jerry
least,
and Nevy and Red Stripe, you know.
yeah, man, Jerry
Yeah.
and Neville and Red Stripe, they generally would give us a listening ear. But in the last couple of years, since COVID to be precise, they have basically, and I'm not speaking down on the company, I don't want anyone to get the wrong impression, but they have basically made it clear that even with sponsorship, they generally do so, and they sponsor with the understanding that um it is something that they are giving back to the community, to the Domino community, but they generally don't see a return on investment. They don't see an increasing sales. They don't see where the product is being pushed from a financial standpoint. And generally, that's the direction that companies are going. They are looking for what they can gain at a time like now, when they are being hit heavily by slow business. So,
But it is before you move on there, do it just to interject because I just wanted to make it to look at a few things. Isn't it an indictment on the Domino administrative though regarding some of these narratives that is in push are the ROI that is not being seen by these corporate companies. And this is not unique to JDCA. I'm just Domino in general, the West, the East, whatever it is.
I mean, I would definitely say yes, and we take some accountability, but there are a number of other factors as well. The ROI becomes one of the main factors, but there are other things at play, Professor. When we look
Mhm.
at the other narratives that are there, indiscipline plays a crucial role right now. We sadly don't have a firm enough grip, I believe, on a lot of the indiscipline that happens in the sport, and it's so much easier for those portions to come out and stand out than when we have a continued, overlapping stream or time where everything runs smoothly. So those things are looked at. I think that we as entities, whether it be the JDCA or any other, can do a lot more in terms of ensuring that we are looked at in a positive way, or we're positioning ourselves or the sport in a positive way. And that, in a sense, is something that we put our shoulder to the wheel and started rolling it. I think that it will eventually gain some traction and start moving faster and faster. But as it is right now, I think that we basically, put ourselves in a hole, so to speak. um, Technological advancement is another area
Yeah.
where we kind of fumbled the ball, looking at how we kind of looked at things from an earlier standpoint. I think that now we are taking some great strides. I have a member of my team as well, our technological engineer Alex Dowie. He's from Montego Bay, and he also has infused some great technological advancements in the sport as well, whether it be in terms of the registration of clubs and players, or leagues through the website, as well as the live streaming that has now become a part of it. And he has also been able to kind of infuse showing off, so to speak, the domino to a number of entities through the portal as well. We are making a lot of positive changes, which I believe will eventually bring us to where you are making mention, Prof.
Yeah.
ROI doesn't normally mean that you spend $1 million in the sport, so you expect that persons are gonna buy back $1 million worth of product.
Not
It,
necessarily. Awareness is one of the greatest thing.
exactly. And if we can get all of those mediums and forums out, then that's precisely what will happen. We're on TikTok, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook. We are energizing those platforms, or re energizing, I should say. and companies are feeling good. I don't know if you saw the short video that Alex released with the first quarterfinal round of games.
Yes, yes, yes.
Team Boom was really ecstatic about it. They feel good to know that they're a part of it, and we just now need to get the wider audience out, aware, or make them aware of what is happening and of the good parts and the good qualities of Domino. I mean, every sport at some point has some kind of negative display in it, but at the end of the day, we um we definitely will continue to do what we can do to improve the image
Yes.
and the overall aura of the sport, and that in itself will force the attractiveness that we're looking to get from the sport.
All right.
Okay.
You did mention discipline. I want that as a separate look up from this. But that's going to move on to Trishan a little bit.
Yes, yes. Oh, I
Yes.
was just going to say the same thing,
Yeah,
Professor,
man. Yeah, man. We
about
don't want to
discipline,
isolate her.
and I
Um.
was going to address Mrs. Emans. But go
All
ahead,
right.
Professor.
Yeah, man. Trishan, as the technical director, how did the association manage the logistics of the tournament, including like venue selection and scheduling, even for the up to the quarterfinals?
From quarterfinal, no, from mid-season finals,
Yes,
we have to go from mid-season. The logistics were handled, I would say, very well because um, getting to know, well, socializing with all the teams, the 20 teams that play, even though
Mhm.
sometimes the discipline is not there for all of them, and they go on and on and on. But you have some persons there that you can just call on and say, I need some assistance here, and they put you onto someone, and then the logistics go on and on. But we have a driver, a truckman. His name is Mr. Wayne. Well, I call him Mr. Wayne. He
Mhm.
is great. I can call on him at any time, and he's there for us. The logistics to get like furnitures and stuff, we have to call around and get them, and then know we plan.
Yes, you mentioned I use the venue selection,
Hold
right,
a
Professor?
minute. Just
Yeah, man.
hold a minute, please. Just let me get some quiet space.
Yes.
Let me
I'm
just pick up
loading.
where the cheese off. I think
Yes,
Yes.
what
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Thanks again.
All right, you
yes,
come at
So
loading.
I'm back.
Yeah, man. Go ahead, Sean.
So for venue selection,
Yes.
well, I was given tender call for mid-season finals. Well, I work with it and everything. Well, our team work with it. I wouldn't say our team worked with it.
Yes. Yes.
Um, After learning that we get it for the quarterfinals. I couldn't get it for two other Sundays. We had to go again on venue hunting. So we went on venue hunting until we found level 12. So level 12 was given to us via socialization and things. And when
Yeah.
we went to different venues and ensure that the space is adequate, crowd control is adequate, where we can lighting is adequate. So the
Mhm.
logistics of all of this is just to get our furnitures or bar or everything up and running. So yes, we had a team working with, and we start from the Saturday or the Friday. Well, we start working from the day we finish Domino on Sunday night, whatever time, until the next Sunday. We have not stopped working. So that's my
Okay.
logistic team.
Okay.
Just
All
before
right.
you come in, Mellache,
All right.
just so quickly,
Okay.
I wanted to Miss Trishan, the you mentioned the venue and the logistics regarding the more the semi-final. what was the venue selection for the respective teams conducive for play, bathroom facilities, etc.? Was that good in the eyes
Okay,
of the
I have I have not been to all of them because this is my first year in JDCA, and when I came on board, I figure more or less all the teams played at their venue already, so most of them were passed already. I have been to three venues, and the three venues were um, Land Raiders, um, Right Stuff, and I think it was Cherry. I went there, and when I went there, the facility was okay for me, and the rooftop. I went there, so four of them. So the facility was okay and everything, but just to know that while we are there and everything, you have some persons complain that oh this person venue is not good and all of that. So what I say in the future for JDC, as soon as we know when our competition is going to start, we start looking back at each and then to take each of the complaints because all referees have to write a report and ensure that so if the bathroom facilities and stuff are not conducive, not so we have something named good, satisfactory, excellent, with if they poor. So once it mark satisfactory or poor, then we will go out again and look and then do our recommendations. Tell them what they need to do so that the facility can be up to date. So for future reference, we will ensure that all those reports of our referees, right, every Sunday um, is in full effect for our next year double six competition and onwards. So if your
Mellache?
venue is not feasible or not, I would say not compatible for play, then you have to find a new venue, and we have to pass it before you can play.
Okay, Mellache.
Okay. All right. Yes, like I say, Sean Wallace. Welcome, Sean Wallace. Western Kingston, big up. Yeah, man. Ardy, big up yourself, Ardy. Tamara, loyal, very loyal, Tamara to Mellache TV. Missy Bert, yes, welcome. All right, my viewers, if you have any questions, you can ask the technical director or the president of JDCA. You can type your questions. But since we're on the venue, Dwayne, what about the NHT venue? I think that venue is a good venue, like for finals or for the quarterfinals. What about it?
Yeah, man, I'm in agreement that NHT over the years that we were able to use them was a really great venue. Um, they gave us flexibility because we had a lot of parking and a lot of space for the matches to be played and for persons to view. Logistically, we try to put plans in place as Trish explained. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes we are hit with a brick wall at the last moment or at some very difficult times. For this year in particular, we were not able to secure NHT based on some internal reasons within NHT. Um, However, we have found favor with Pembroke Hall. I think the spacing there is adequate. There's great parking facilities. Everybody can have secured parking. I think the only issue that we had with that venue at one point was the ventilation. I think it was a bit hot. Well, it wasn't a bit hot, it was hot. And they made some adjustments there, installed some ceiling fans. I think for the quarterfinals, which we had all eight teams, it was a great quarterfinal. Um, the persons were able to come out in their numbers and in support of each other, and that was that. NHT, as I say, presented some great opportunity. And then a number of the other locations. To me, my favorite venue was always originally Jazzera Park,
Yes, yes,
but
Yes.
definitely.
they made some drastic changes, and I think they were left with a sour taste in their mouth or a bitter taste, stemming from another association that had some activity or event there. So they made improvements to the venue, and it's really a very difficult climb to get to what they are charging right now for rental. So some of these things we have to look at as well when we are looking at the logistic portion of it. The cost is one associated thing. Um, Usability is not the only thing, but we have to also look at that as well. And it's a similar thing for NHT, even though for this year they would have had some challenges at their location.
Okay. All right. This question is for Mrs. Hemans. Um, do you have a criteria for referee? And do you have training for the referees?
Yes, we do have a criteria and we do have training. But someone made a suggestion to us that there is a course at GC Foster that we could do. So I am in progress of finding out how we go about it
Okay,
and
because
get
I was
our
just
referees certified.
yes, I was just going to ask you how do you get the referee certified?
Right.
Yeah. But yes, I know about GC Foster for sports and stuff like that. So going forward for next year, will the referee be certified?
We are working on it. It's a work in progress.
Okay.
Yeah, a good thing you mentioned the officials, Mellache,
Yes.
because this is one of the things that when you're dealing with it, if there's a country need to to improve in whatever way, social or economical, you tend to look at the you or weed out certain things. You have to look at the top. And I say this to say the refereeing needs to be looked at deeply. And in general, for most parts, I want to get pick Miss doing what is it that you see that some of the issues you have with these current copper referees. I know you have you did a lot to get in some new officials inside the arena, which is it is wonderful. But what generally you see with the mindset of the officials that you have that who are officiating for quite some time?
All right. I think that just like everyone else, you know, doing a job over time, it becomes just a job. Sometimes the passion dips, and with the dip in passion, sometimes the push that you have might waver, right? I think that we eventually we what we tend to do is that we know a lot of persons, and we know a lot of persons for a specific role, and so much it becomes so much so to the point where we are slow to react, and I'm putting this on us as the board.
Yes.
Think that what we did are the changes that we're trying to make now. We're trying to incorporate a mixture. We're trying to get in new officials to come in to be empowered, and we're trying to also give those stalwart referees a nudge as well, just to say, okay, this is the energy that you came in with. We would love to see some of this coming back from where we initially would have been. Um, and I think one other challenge that we have, Professor, is that the referees that we would love, we want to have referees in the sport that understand and can play the sport. because it makes the decision making process a lot better when you have an understanding of the game. So understanding the black and white, which governs the sport, is one thing, but being able to apply it properly comes when you have a great understanding of the game itself or the sport itself. So our infusion now, we did do some workshops at the beginning. We tried to re-emphasize on some of the rules, and we try to ensure that we give the referees empowerment to know that they are able to make decisions based on the rules, and they should be standing by those decisions when made. But then at the end of the day, there are some times and some cases where we might have a miss here or there, can potentially be damaging to a specific game. Um, but I mean, what we have to do is to continue to give the empowerment to those who are willing. And then again, I can remember at the beginning of the season, we reached out to the clubs and we said, hey, this is the direction that we're looking to go. If you have anyone in your club or anyone that you know, not even in the club, that knows about the sport but has an interest to do some refereeing or looking to do some workshops, we made this extension to the 20 teams that were interested. Well, it was 17 at the time because the three new ones had not come on board as yet. And I'll tell you, and it will be surprising, that from all of those clubs, we got a whopping zero suggestions. No one came forward to say, hey, I want to give the refereeing a try. Um, so, from there, we had to build back with what we had, as well as add a few persons who are still right now trying to bring themselves up to speed as it relates to the rules. And I know it's a case that it will get better, but speaking from the standpoint at where we are now, I know that there's a lot of room for growth from that standpoint.
Yes, and
Just to add,
yes, go
Professor,
ahead.
just to
Yes.
add to what Sir President saying, even though we are learning the rules as referees and all of that, 'cause for the new one, what I realized while either refing a game or visiting one of the games or any game at all, because persons are in the domino for so long, so they'll say, okay, I'm playing dominoes for 60 years, 70 years, just giving an example.
Mhm.
You come in as a newbie, or I would say to emphasize the rules because the rules are revamped. It's the same rules, but you're just at a tweak to it or so. They don't like new things, and these are players. Oh,
Yeah.
you just come in. So because they don't like new things, and I realize that even in my workplace, because older persons don't like new things, they say that, you know. But I mean, come on, if the referee is emphasizing the rule, allow him or her to emphasize the rule. The first thing they do is to take up the phone and they call out. They call all the clubs and say, "Oh, I have a new referee, and the new referee doesn't know anything." Come on, it is a rule, and you have to adhere to the rule. The club managers and the captains, they all get these rules, so they get it in both digital and they also get it in on paper, black and white, because I have printed them and send them out to with each referee and give them. I print over 20 rule sheets, and yet still, when you go to these clubs, and also when they call you, they say, "Oh, I have never seen the rule sheet. Oh, I have never seen the digital copy." Come on, these people need to when they need to have club meetings and emphasize the rules so that when they come out, the indiscipline is a little low, lower than what it is. Because more than likely, most times I realize that is the older players, that is the senior players, are the indisciplined ones.
Well,
are the more indisciplined? Yeah, go
well,
ahead.
that,
Go
that,
ahead,
that
Mellache.
should be their ignorance and
They
negligence.
are the indisciplined ones because they don't like
Because
Uh,
once the
rules. They
rule is
don't
there,
like
they have to
changing.
adhere by the rules, So that would be their
yes.
negligence and arrogance, ignorance. You
All
understand?
right. Let me kind of soften the blow a bit. There are two types of players in what Trish expressed just now, right? There's the one who genuinely does not know, and because of that ignorance, as Professor said, they tend to try to become very pushy, or
Mhm.
they might seek elsewhere, as she says, and they try to get things to go in their favor based on that. But then there's another one who knows the rule, will go through the rule, but still try to be exploiting of the newer officials that come in because they think that those officials don't know. So that's where the struggle comes when persons try to become or make themselves put themselves in an advantageous position. Um, and that will definitely um push a certain narrative or push them in a particular way, because of the fact that they might not get the desired outcome. So it's two ways, and I don't think that it's because they don't like the newbie. They just feel like, they should have or be able to manipulate a specific outcome because they are veterans or because they think they know it a lot better. Or, as I say, some know it, but they don't know that you know it as a newer person coming in.
Yes, and doing that says a lot. Uh, um, what you just said. But there is something also that goes also for the referees who tend to officiate in different tournaments, different competitions, with the same with the same mindset also, just like some of these players. For argument's sake, if they were the JDCA League, the Portmore League, the Western League, they have different rules. I don't believe that all carry the same rules, and they will ref these games with rules from competitions back way back in the day and apply to this present, and this is one of the issues we have in the game as we speak. What say you?
Yeah, I think that cross refereeing is not where the issue comes in, right? Because it's something that I did as a young referee. At one point, I was officiating in a mental league, which is the business house,
Hmm.
while I was still doing work on a Sunday with JDCA in this league, the Double Six Championship, as it's now called. And then I was also doing work with a league in Old Harbor, you know, and then I also would do other freelance kind of matches. But what I think made me very successful as a referee is the fact that I made it a point of duty to know or become familiar with the rules for each of these
Exactly.
tournaments and to not have them blended, so to speak, because some things are much different in some leagues than the others. And, one simple mistake or what can be considered a simple mistake might end up being something much larger, So that's generally or typically where we need
Uh,
to look at or address as it relates to the referees. We won't say to a referee, no, you're not allowed to ref with another organization. That
mhm.
would be very unfair or selfish of us. The only thing that we now have to say is, be very mindful when you are officiating with respect to each of these leagues that you are doing work in. You don't want there to be a mistake that can be very costly, and we'll find that it's because of what is the perception in another league.
One of the things that I want to look at is there a situation where persons are refing based on unwritten rules for argument's sake, they will argue, refer officiate based on the fact that they believe that is supposed to be the case. For argument's sake, they let's look at the situation of timing. What's the difference? What should it be in terms of counting off a person in a particular game to play? What is the rule here for you? Just so we can
All
elaborate.
right. So this is something that I'm gonna look at as well, because the truth is it's wide open in terms of the time that a player is allowed to play
Mhm.
a domino, right? Of course, we play an open code format in the double six
Yes.
championship, and as such, we allow a lot more time than we would in a mental tournament,
Yes.
whereas you have a specific or a set time once it becomes your turn to play. Now, naturally, we also speak, or what governs this is the time wasting rule, and the time wasting rule speaks to, a player being playing within a specific, well, not a specific but a reasonable time frame. And when we say reasonable, that brings
Yeah.
perception in play,
Ex-
it brings reasoning in play, and this most times will be according to the reasoning of the referee
Discretion.
and
Discretionary.
discretion, right?
No.
So what we will be looking to do next
Mm-hmm.
season, something that we discussed as well, is to
Mm-hmm.
try to put some more specifics into it.
Yes.
Truth is that a lot of the players exploit the fact that there is no set or defined time, and they try to hold certain games, which we see as a tactic as well, especially when you're not winning. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, in terms of the count, when a referee's attention is called to the table,
Mm-hmm.
the referee will go. They will allow the player a few moments at first. When they see that a play is not forthcoming, then they will ask for the player to play a domino. If the player refuses to play, then they'll advise the player. They're gonna go ahead and count them out, and it's a count to three. After which, if a domino is not played, then the game will be shuffled by the referee and
And
awarded to the other team.
what
So that's
just
what rule
uh,
speaks to.
yes, I just wanted to look at it now because you mentioned there's no, which is something now that has to be looked on because there's no time limit.
Right.
What what would the discretionary measures could be used by your present organization in terms of preliminary games against the knockout encounters, like quarterfinal, semifinal, etc. What is the discretionary measure used here?
And that's my thing now, Professor.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that if we have one thing governing, regardless of where we are in the competition, we
Mm-hmm.
should have one thing governing. It's one set practice, and I think that some teams, as I said before, try to exploit based on the fact that they know it's discretion. Yes, I may come to your table. I'll as the referee, I may ask you if the game is in your play. I will ask you and to show me your hand so that I can see if you are genuinely withholding a play or if you have multiple plays. And this is where we speak about the referee knowing the game, because if it's a case where it's very clear cut, then I as a referee will say to the player, go ahead and play so that the game can continue. But if it's genuinely a case where there's a chance for the player, you want to give that player an opportunity to look into the game a little bit more. And then eventually, when they're satisfied with which whatever route they're going to take, then you allow them to take. So, again, we don't have anything in document right now as it relates to a specific time when it's a player's turn to play. We'll be correcting that for next season. But as it is right now, we try to keep the game moving because that's the purpose of the official in the game, to keep the game moving on each of the tables. And if a player is determined to hold the game, which is a tactic that we have seen by a number of clubs, then that player will be asked to play. And if they are refusing to play, then comes the count out and the awarding of the game if a play is not made at the time.
but
All right,
it's
Dwayne. All
go
right.
ahead. Mellache.
Yes, let us take some questions from the chat. But first thing I want to ask you though, Dwayne, is domino a sport?
Yes, it's a sport. It is a sport. Is it a recognized sport? No, it's not. I'm seeing the question in the chat. I see the reason why you asked Sir
Yes,
Malachi,
because Frederick Messiah asked a question.
and it's a
Why
great
don't you seek
question.
sponsorship from the sports ministry?
Great question. Frederick, since I came into the organization, it's a question that I've asked. I have been seeking the audience from the sports ministry for several years. We have requested meetings, we have sent in emails, we have sent in physical letters were sent before me. I personally have sent numerous emails. I've spoken to the secretary for the office of the ministry of the minister. Um, we have been given a few dates at some point, but then those meetings just never seem to come to fruition. We are still seeking help in terms of getting that sponsorship from the ministry, and a few other entities who we know do funding for sports, like the SDF or the SDC. There are a number of lines that we need to cross in terms of getting something very clear cut. But I believe that we are getting the attention of some very good persons within each of these. Our expectation is that in the very near future, we should be able to not only have an audience, but ultimately get some sponsorship from a few of these entities, if not directly through the ministry. I'll let you in also on a little loop, because we were also able to speak to one organization in particular who was really elated to see, based on the videos and so forth that were presented. And they are saying that they are very much interested in adopting Domino, and have offered some instructions, few criteria that we are to meet as a body, so that they can eventually also come on board. But great question from you, Frederick. It's something that's continuous and will be continuous until we eventually hit the nail on the head.
Okay, videos from Mellache, that we Mellache TV reaching somewhere.
Well, Mellache TV is always spoken of as one of our main mediums to distribute and bring light to the sport. And you know me, Mellache, I always invite you, I always welcome you to our venues, regardless of where the domino is. I know you travel a lot, and continue to bring light to the sport. So definitely.
Okay. All right. Next question from Mr. Watson. Um, why did you choose to still go ahead and use Links Furniture after you made the decision to awarded the match to Central?
All
But
right.
but, but based on that question though, Mr. Bailey, first I think you need to clarify if the decision was made by just you alone or it was by the body or what. So I think maybe you have to clarify that first.
All right, let me speak on the incident in its entirety. Right. First and foremost, thanks for your question, Mr. Watson. Now, for me, that match represents one of the negatives from this season. I think that we got to a point where we really and truly saw how fragile it can be in terms of having control of Domino in its entirety, right? I don't want persons to be misled though. Even though this was a very difficult and challenging outcome to a match, we still don't consider it to be the taking or talking point from the season, because there were so many other positives that we can look at. However, in terms of that scenario, what transpired that night, we had one isolated incident, which was between a referee who was not on active duty, and a member from one team We got that issue isolated. We were able to rectify, were able to clear, and then we had the teams seated and we were ready to continue the game that at that point had stopped, right? When we were able to go through and we sorted through all of the uproar, um, I asked for the teams to, be seated because we wanted to continue the match.
Which is the most important thing.
Sorry?
Which is the most important thing.
Yeah, man, the most
Mhm.
important.
You got to go
So
on.
a question was raised, and it goes back to one of what was said earlier. I don't know if it's a case or it's a manipulation of the rule or genuine ignorance. Um, a person from Lynx wanted additional points to be added to the board based on the expulsion of the player. I went back to the black and white and expressed that, that's not possible based on how the rules are. I said in future, we possibly might have to look at adjusting. But as it relates to the rule for this year's competition, we are not able to grant or give or award any additional points to any team based on the expulsion. I made reference to the rule. That started an uproar. The Lynx team felt like they were not, they were not able to, they were not willing to accept what was what was said. Um, they left the ring at that point. Persons were up and about, cursing, saying they award the game to the next team. Um, there was just a lot of things happening.
Yes,
Persons showcased so much indiscipline. And it's so funny that we had such a great game coming up to that point. But what is now being looked at is that one half an hour where, there was all of that negative stuff happening. Anyway, I got the team, I asked the team to come back and be seated so that we can play. Um, they eventually came back to the playing area. One player said that he had to leave the ring because he's not well. I know that at some point throughout the course of the night he was not well, or he appeared to be not unwell. Um, I later heard that he was under some 7 or 8 love, and persons are saying that's the reason why he wanted to leave. Interestingly, though, when he was leaving, as a result of the same ruling that was made, he opted to be very disrespectful and issued a threat, and even stated on camera that it's a promise that he would inflict harm.
the
Uh,
same player that who said he felt ill.
yeah, the same player that fell ill had the
Okay, okay,
strength to come and threaten or promise
okay,
he
okay.
would inflict harm. Anyway, I didn't let that take away from the moment because I wanted the game itself to continue. Um, I asked Mr. James who is the president for Lynx, to set a different player. He asked a player to come, which I immediately interjected because that player in question would have on several occasions come into the ring while not being a member of the ring, meaning he's not seated at any of the tables. Come into the ring, got into several altercations with players from the other club, with the officials, went as far as to disrupt and destroy a game that was being held at one of the tables. Um, so I said, based on all of that, this player is not admissible in the game. At that point, the team erupted. They stood in defense of the indisciplined player to say that he should play, and I stood firm saying no. If he is going to be so disrespectful in presence of not only the opposing team, not only the board, but also his team, then that's not the kind of thing that I'm going to award by allowing you to come and sit in the ring. You came in, you did all of what you did, So at this point, naturally you're gonna be sanctioned. I advised the president that he is not admissible to play, and again came an eruption. The team at this point threatened to leave. Well, he actually tried to physically approach me, the president. Um, Madam Technical Director, who is here, stood in my defense. She stepped in the middle when he tried to approach me, and the video is there to show. She tried to put up a hand to kind of ease him off of me, and his response was to push her off and raise his hand as if he was going to attack her. And what stood out the most to me was that in all of this, with so many players using such profane language towards me and the rest of the members of the teams and the board, there was no one from the team willing to stand up and say to the players, no, this is wrong. Don't take this approach. I can remember, and I have to speak on this because I want this portion to go out. Daniel Goff, from Central, I think he's the president or the manager for Central. In the midst of all the altercation, I remember him standing up and saying to his team, Central, no, do not go that route. Allow the officials to get the game in control. Allow the officials to make the right ruling. Let us sit down and let us remain quiet so that the right course of action can take place. I expected that from the veterans from the Lynx team that I have known over the years to be one of the more disciplined teams, over the years to be one of the more stern teams as it relates to certain things. But that call for calm, that call for peace did not come.
Uh, uh,
The player
just
eventually was removed from the ring. And well,
okay.
let me just finish.
Yeah, man, no problem, no problem. I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
The player was ultimately advised that he is not able to play, and while hurling all of the slurs and the verbal abuse, he eventually was escorted out of the ring. I don't remember by who, and that's at the point now where I said to the team, let's get another player there and let's continue play. I think someone else that was in the ring came in front of the president for the club and told the rest of the team, come out of the ring, let's leave, get them the match. And so they left the ring. Having done so, I tried to get them back to the ring, even after saying to them if they had left that they're going to forfeit the game. I tried to get them in the ring. They did not come back into the ring. So I said to the presidents from the two clubs, listen, it makes no sense. I've tried several times to get the teams under control. Careful. That did not happen. So we are going to have a meeting, determine an outcome. I will let the clubs know what the outcome is, and we move on from there. And that's how we close that night. Now, to the question that you asked, Mr. Watson, plans were put in place for us to receive additional tables. I remember speaking to my team and saying that this is a fear that I have. Um, that they will come for the equipment and that we might have a disruption to the game. I received several calls from players on Link's team. We got emails and messages and texts. We got threats of lawsuit as well. No one made reference to the tables. And I think where my team dropped the ball is that because we never got anything direct from the club to say the tables were gonna be taken. That's at the point where I think my team kind of eased up in terms of the transition into the new set of furniture Because again, the instruction was given, but I personally was not able to be fully present due to work constraints. So I only knew that this instruction was not completed on Sunday. Um, and from I got there on Sunday, I was asking around to a lot of persons to see if I could get a vehicle to go and pick up some other equipment. Because you know, when you just feel something coming, eventually, what I feared did happen, and I think it kind of pulled the 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 whole Domino fraternity into a deeper depth in terms of what I consider to be a very malicious act, not only against the JDCA, but against all the teams that were playing, all the spectators that were watching, all the entities that wanted to play an active hand. I got a call from someone in Nigeria asking about the Domino and how that incident transpired. I had to be very short lived in terms of the explanation, but so many negative things came as a result of that. Um, but in the meetings that we had, to answer the second part of the question, it's not a case where the match was awarded to Central, so to speak. It's a case that we looked at it for what it was. One team opted, after an isolated incident took place and was rectified, one team opted to walk from the match. And if you walk from a pitch in any sport, that is seen as you forfeiting. And that ultimately is what was considered by the team when we had our meetings. And ultimately, the votes were in favor of what eventually transpired. So I hope that kind of brings some light to what your question was.
All right, Dwayne, there's a few questions I would like to ask, and let me make it clear. I was not in attendance at the game, and I wasn't watching the game either at that particular time. And I just wanted to find out, because I'm just dealing with the issues that I know well. That is for me probably some of the most important, and it has nothing to do with the altercation, whether physically or verbally. But it's something that I want to find out from you. You did mention that it's when the player in question that you didn't want to go into the ring to replace another player. You said that player cannot be admissible in the game as a result of bringing other games into disrepute. Now, isn't that the moment when you stop that player? Isn't that something could have been looked at in a different way, based on the fact that that could have message could have been relayed to the respective captains, president, etc. Hierarchy of links in in question. Couldn't have done that before the player actually going into ring to stop it, because probably that now would bring a different level of an altercation or so forth. What are your thoughts here?
And in truth, I think that it would have been the same outcome regardless, because the truth of it is, this is the same player that would have I want to use a soft term, but invaded the ring on several occasions, and as I said before,
Disrupt.
made arguments with a lot of players in the ring, disrupted the flow of the game, was in altercation with officials as well, was in altercation with spectators. One person in particular from Central opted to remain quiet but did reach out to me verbally. I told him to submit a formal report. He opted not to, but he was playing at the table for the game that eventually was disrupted. But he did go in the ring and tell him some very colorful words as well. And if this was the behavior before we eventually came to that um, climax, you know, I think that if he had received that information, possibly we wouldn't have had both teams seated for the other stuff to happen, right? It ultimately would have been the same thing. Now, to your point, I think that it would have been good if we got an opportunity to sit and speak as it relates to that specifically. But there was the opportunity didn't present itself based on the fact that there was so many things happening at the same time, which also included whether the altercation that happened with Central and the official, um, as well as the multiple other things that were happening at the same time, because a number of spectators from the clubs were also in breach of a number of things. Um, Somebody came into the ring and literally took the scoreboard and erased what was there to put what they wanted to put there. It was just a number of things happening. So it's at the time that his name was called where I was able to say to the official, no, 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 to the president, no, no, based on this and based on that, this player is not admissible for play for at least for the rest of the game. So that's ultimately what happened on the night
All right.
where
All
that's
right.
come.
Yeah, that's
Then,
on the night.
let me interject a little.
No worries. Go ahead.
Um, just as him, just as that player disrupt the game in play, I I said to him, "You need to leave the ring." I said it to Prezi and the referee that was there. I even turned to Mr. James because he was the skipper at the time for the game, and I said, "Tell your player to leave the ring for the rest of the game because it will cost your team." That's what I said to him, and he did not respond. He came back in the ring again, and I said it to him again. I didn't even touch him. I said to him, "Get your player out of the ring."
All
And they
right.
talk and they quarrel and they go on and they get him out of the ring. So it's on more than one occasion, as Pretty said, he did this.
All right. That happened on the night.
Hmm.
No, what transpired? No, because remember, that decision that you made did made on the night based on the infractions you mentioned. Now, on the days after, when decision is going to be made, what what you required of both clubs and officials to come to a decision not to allow links to contest or finish the game or contest awarded points or contest the semi-final. What led to that decision being taken? What is the you required as the administrative body from the respective clubs, players or officials?
Let me take that one. I think the response was very clear cut there, Professor. We required nothing more of either team. Us being there and right on spot gave us everything that we need in evidence. Um, we had a lot of videos as circulated by the as circulated persons sent videos in clippings from the live stream, sorry. And I was able to also sit back and watch all of the closing stages of the live stream. So we had enough evidence, we had enough facts from those videos, and of course being in the situation in order to have a meeting. We did reach out to the clubs as well and say to the clubs, please go ahead and send out a report based on the incident. And when one club followed the instruction, sent in their report, another club called in to say they don't see the point of the report. Why are we asking for a report? And everyone was there. And I explained to them what we want is an opportunity for anything that we might have missed in all of the commotion. We want to ensure that the club gets an opportunity to speak on that. So we are asking, or we're giving you the option to submit in writing what your report was of the incident. And what we got, to be quite honest, showed us that there was a lot of room for improvement from an administrative standpoint within the clubs. I am not pointing a finger at any club in particular, but I'm saying generally we have to evolve, get some more youth involved who are able to, give us a lot of something like basic report writing is something that will definitely play a part in showing how the teams are developing overall. So I think that what we got, really and truly didn't give us any additional substance in as opposed to what we would have already had the evidences. So we were able to deliberate internally. We didn't need to have a meeting with either of the clubs because they would have been giving us exactly what we had already, which was the incident in its entirety and the evidences which were already there.
All
So
right.
we went over the
All right,
course.
hold on, Professor.
Hold on. I just want to follow up,
Okay.
Mellache, because
Okay.
there are points you can hold a thought a little bit, Mellache, because I realized that you said so there was no report taken from the officials at the game. I just want to make
Yeah,
clear.
man. There were we had
All right.
we got reports from the. Okay, so the official that was involved with in the altercation, we got his.
All
We
right.
got a report from the match referee herself.
Hold on. What altercation? Because there was a physical and they were verbal. I just
Yeah,
want to make
man.
it clear
The
because
physical altercation between the player from Central as well as the referee.
but the referee in question wasn't an active referee on the night. Isn't that the case?
Exactly.
So he would have to still have to get a report from the standing official in the game. You should have,
And
and
we
I don't
did.
know if that is the
And we
case.
did. And we did.
All right, beautiful. All right. Now I want to go on. Is this decision by the board was taken by a disciplinary body? Because that is important, do it.
All right. So to answer your question directly, Professor,
Mm-hmm.
we separate and apart from earlier years, we don't have a specified disciplinary body. We invited clubs to give us representation, and again, we got no traction where that's concerned. So the
Okay.
decision would have been taken by all of the executives on the board. We had several meetings, as I said before, where all points were factored and looked at, and then ultimately the decision which was reached is the one that received all of the votes.
Is it, and if you don't have a disciplinary body and the decision is taken by the executive, isn't wouldn't be, what should I say, a very touchy issue if persons that who are involved in the situation to make a decision. Is that with sort of a sort of a conflict together?
And
What say you?
I disagree with that, Professor. I can see where you're going, and I want to assure you and everyone else on the program there was no room for um, any feelings to be considered because evidence was right there. So it's not a case where we were able to say, because this man tried to beat me up or because this man
Yeah, man, I don't
did
understand. I just
all
want to
kind
make
of
it clear.
things or whatever. We were able to look at specific and definite evidence that was there, which gave us enough reason to come to the decision that we came to. Ultimately, and I'll say it openly for
Mhm.
everyone, if it's a case where if it's a case where it was a decision, so to speak, that I was able to make of my own self, we might have gone a different way. But ultimately, when we had our meetings, and again, this is members of the board
Yes.
that act in place of a disciplinary body, the
Mhm.
decision was ultimately made, and that's the decision that we went forward with as a body.
Yes. And I totally agree, because if there's a disciplinary body not put in place, obviously the executive would have to take that responsibility to
Right.
ensure that the game continues. However, is it let's look at it and see the situation with you mentioned evidence, and as much as there are pictures or videos, you have to be wary of the videos that you look, because you might look at another video and it's they call it splice. Those situations can put change the direction of how you make decisions, and this is not unique to this incident. I mean generally. So as much as you can call them as evidence, you have to be wary of making decisions based on certain evidence that are circumstantial. What say you about
I think we are arguing two different points here, though,
this? Hmm.
Prof, to be perfectly fair, right?
Hmm.
On one side of the coin, we are looking at any follow-up action when we look at it from a disciplinary standpoint, whether it be against a player or the club in general. For the fixture, and I believe I said it before, what was the selling point of the quote unquote acting disciplinary body, which would be the
Hmm.
executives, is the fact that this team forfeited the game not once but twice by walking out of the arena.
There's a rule for that.
That was the original.
There's a rule for that, because that's
Right.
what I'm.
So,
Yeah, that's what
Professor,
I'm trying to do.
let us be perfectly clear. Let us be very
Yes, that's what I
straightforward.
want. Yeah.
Let us be very straightforward. That is not something that you need to have a clear cut rule about. If a match is in progress and a team leaves the field of play, that is forfeit in every sport, not just domino. So
Yes,
we
I
don't need
hold
to
on,
tiptoe
hold on,
around
Dwayne.
that issue in its entirety. Tell me which
Yes,
sport you can
that
have
is
a
why.
team
Listen,
leave the
Dwayne.
field of play and it not be considered a forfeit.
I'm getting what you're saying,
Go on,
Dwayne. Now
please.
I'm following. One of the reasons I'm listening earlier, initial
Mhm.
your argument is that, because remember, forfeiting a play probably in your rules, and that regard is a no-no. From the forfeit a game, eventually you gave away whatever chances you have to play. No, you did mention earlier that facts, because that's one I want to I want to find out what is the real um issue that our rule that has put links out of the commission.
But I did
And,
state it though, and when I
no,
speak about evidence, Professor,
yes,
the
yes,
evidence
that's
or the video is there to show where I made reference to the fact that if the team leaves the playing arena,
mhm.
then they will be forfeiting the game. That's what I was making reference to. I'm not speaking about all the indiscipline because those will be handled separately and individually, whether it be for some of the players or for some of the teams or the team. But in
Mhm.
terms of why the game went the way that it went, there was not one forfeit but two forfeits to the
Yeah,
one
man, I
goal
understand to
by
understand.
one team. So I don't want us to get the two confused.
Uh, okay, all right. What about forfeiting a game? What about an physically abusing an official? Is that go for a forfeit also?
All right, so
Hmm.
in this case,
Yeah.
when we looked at the evidence where that part is concerned, that team received a sanction as it relates to the players that were involved. The only saving
Mhm.
grace for that team was based on the fact that the altercation initially would have been initiated by a member of our team being the JDCA. And that's
Yes.
when the referee in question initiated the physical altercation. So there was a reaction to the original initiation, and ultimately that included one or two players. Um, let us look at a game of football.
Yeah.
A player comes, a player feels like he's being treated unfairly. Him kick down another player on the field. That player is going to be expelled from the game. The game continues. It's a similar instance where this one is concerned. can you imagine how it would look for a member of the JDCA to attack a player from Central? The player from Central, naturally, we are expecting that um, they will be exercising some amount of restraint and not react in the way that it took place. That did not happen, however. They reacted in the way that they reacted. How would it look on a board to
Mm-hmm.
have a player from the board initiate that action, that altercation, and then we try to ban the team for it when we ultimately got the game under control and had everyone seated for play? I personally don't think it would be fair across any sport, not just domino. Based on the example I gave just now, this happens in every sport. If it's NFL, there's an illegal tackle, a player is expelled, whether for a time frame or for the rest of the game. The game continues. That's specifically what happened, and I highlighted the fact that our player was at the center of it. Our referee was
Mm-hmm.
at the center of it, while not being a part, while not being an active part of the game. So from there, we had to take action from that incident in an isolated way. We dealt with it. We issued bans for players as well as the referee, and we moved on with the game as we were expecting to.
Hold on, hold on. Doing two things I'm going to ask. And you mentioned ban, but I'm going to just come back to that. Firstly, these teams that both teams that Righty were a part of it. Do they have an there is a window to make an appeal if they are they feel that they are unfairly um, ejected from play or support? What say
Yes,
you?
there is. Generally, there is a window, and the rule provisions that window. It also speaks to the fact that the board is able to accept or deny that appeal based on the severity of the incident.
Okay. So they can and they have what these are a window for appeal.
I believe the appeal window is 3 days. But again, that appeal can be denied or approved based on the severity of the incident, and that also ultimately speaks on the discretion of the board.
Okay, so okay, so woo.
All right, Professor.
Just before
Uh,
one last question,
okay.
doing before we move on. 'Cause I just want to clarify.
Mhm.
You mentioned ban, isn't the I believe probably the most appropriate word would be suspend, because in order to ban a team or a player, those they would have to meet with a disciplinary board or meet with the executive in this case. What say you?
Say again, repeat your question, please.
All right, you mentioned the word ban, which is I think it's a strong word using the fact that for me the only way you can ban a player or a team is based on the fact that they have met with the disciplinary board, or in this case the executive. There would be most second suspension. What are your thoughts?
All right. I think it's a case of perception because when the board sent out the communication, it did speak to it being indefinite until a meeting is kept, and all parties are able to give
Mm.
account of whatever they would want to, and and then a separate ruling or a final decision will be made. So the ban there just meant that for the remainder of that game and until a meeting is kept, that player is not admissible for to any other event powered by JDCA.
No timeline.
Sorry?
No time. Isn't there a timeline? Suppose the player had a case of, like, for argument's sake, those players that I did mention in the communique. Do suppose they had a chance to want to play in the final, for argument's sake? Wouldn't the board expedite the process to allow that?
All right. And as I say, we take it case by case
Yeah, man.
because ultimately it is very much depending on the severity of the issue.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you personally, Rajay Pusey is a good friend of mine, right? He was in the midst of the physical altercation from the central side of things. And based on what transpired with him, irrespective of even if a meeting was kept the day after, I can promise you 100% that he would not have been a part of the final to be played on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you. So it also is very much dependent on a number of things. The time frame in which everything happened is very short, and the time frame for everything to
Mm-hmm.
close is also very short.
Okay.
So there are a number of factors that would have kind of you know pushed certain things in terms of a decision.
Mm-hmm.
You don't hit someone, you don't send a threat to an executive or anyone within the ring or the playing area for that matter. Um, you don't try to physically harm someone and then expect that you're gonna come back 1 week and recover from it. That's us sending a negative message to everyone who is on the outside watching the sport. And I want to reinforce that the JDCA dares to be different in the case of discipline as it relates to anyone that is willing to try and tarnish what is seen, what is being depicted for Domino worldwide. We are promising you that if you are not willing to display discipline, that you will be expelled. And if it means that we're gonna expel you until we can put the time in place to therefore have a hearing with you, then that's definitely what we will do. We're gonna prioritize everything else in question until we are able to move forward.
All right, since we're on appealing, let us take the last two question from
There
the
is
chat.
something that I wanted to say before you go ahead,
Okay. Okay.
Mellache, right?
Yes.
One other thing that I wanted to mention, and we have to. I'm just backtracking to the initial question that Watson had asked, right? Watson asked about the
About the
tables
furniture.
runnings, and I just want to speak openly about this because I still have a very bitter taste in my mouth, right?
Yeah, that's his question.
Now, thanks for bringing that up. Now, I have no issue with the team returning for their equipment. They had promised to lend them to us for the duration of the up to the duration of the final. However, we understand that whatever issue transpired, the board made a ruling that was not in the favor of the team. So fine, they want to go back on the initial promise and to take the equipment, no problem whatsoever. Where I find fault, is the manner in which it all transpired. Yes, you chose to come for them in the middle of the game, which to me shows a disrespect to the Domino fraternity, not just to the JDCA, but to everyone. Your peers that you know and play Domino with week on week, and everyone else that is watching, both locally and internationally. It was not a good look for Domino. Now, what kind of really put me aback is the way in which these these requests, and I won't even say requests, the demands were being made. I at the time was in the ring, moving about, trying to see that everything is okay. And the account that my general secretary gave, who was in the bar at the time, really and truly put me aback in terms of how um the layer of indiscipline just came through. One person went to her and just started hurling, cursing. Want me table them, want me table them, no, one links table, no. At the table them will come for, no, no, and that is the overall demeanor.
What you saying?
Um, she tried to explain to the person. I'm not who you should speak with. You can speak to Mr. President or Madam Technical Director. Person was just not having it, continuously shouted at her. Her also being new to the board, you know, really was very taken aback at the manner in which this request was being made. This is something that I wasn't even aware of at the time. Ultimately, another player from Lynx approached me, and it was a similar thing. Shouting, on the table, do a table, no, no. I remember making my way to the ring to express that to the referees, and the player was just walking behind me, and it's like some kind of domineering, just shouting. I had to stop at one point and turn to the player and I said, "Look here, man. You said it to me hundreds of times already. Allow me to go and speak to the teams. You already said that you wanted your tables. I am going to get you your tables. Allow me to do what I'm doing." "No, no, want my table? No." So I was saying, like, come on, be respectful. At some point in time, be respectful. You don't say anything to us from before, which is why my team, as I said, didn't act on the initial instruction to get other tables. But you come and you want your tables now, be show some kind of restraint. I'm not asking you to come and beg me because it's your tables, but show some kind of restraint. Um, and the ironic thing about it was that after the tables were taken, we got tables replaced. I want to give a special shout out to the persons that were there because some quick responses by some other persons, both from Bull Bay and Soursop, and I think other clubs, everyone kind of jumped in and we got the tables replaced so that the game could continue. Well done to those persons. Um, what was so ironic was that at halftime, same Lynx players could be seen in the ring playing on the replacement tables. And I said to myself, when Trish and Madam Secretary is me same one hold them back Mellache and tell them no, we're not gonna do what they did. Let them continue to play. We're not gonna stoop to the level that they did. Let them continue to play. And that's how I kind of calmed them down. But I mean, it really and truly was distasteful. I have some numbers blocked in my phone right now because of the calls that I got and persons issuing threats and all those kind of things. Like those things are not needed in Domino. Honestly, it's not. And I think that I want to encourage Mr. James. I don't know if he's on or hearing. I would encourage him. This Lynx team now is not the Lynx that we are accustomed to. This kind of indiscipline, really and truly, if I heard 3 or 4 years ago that this is what Lynx is or is going to be, I would tell anybody impossible, not Mr. James's team. But I think that somewhere along the line, persons lost focus and need to regain that level of focus so that they can move back into the team that they were before. Originally, I I I spoke to so many players from Lynx, and the only person that I spoke to who was able to speak to me in a very civil way was Mr. James himself. We had good discussion. We had calm and peaceful discussion where he expressed to me his displeasure. I referred to the rules as it relates to everything, and he made mention of the fact that a lawsuit is coming. I don't know. I haven't received anything from anyone where that's concerned. And I said to him, if that's the route that you choose to take, then I can't discourage you. I can only speak to the rules. And if it comes, then we deal with it from that standpoint. To which he agreed. He wished me a good evening. I wished him a good evening, and that was it. Now I am hearing rumors going around saying that I said distasteful things to Mr. James. I encourage the person spreading those rumors because I love this technological age that we're in, got words from persons who are spreading those rumors. And I would encourage those persons, say what I said to Mr. James, because they said that I said distasteful things to Mr. James. And if he is the well, I know Mr. James is a man of certain respect. With respect to the whole table taking back thing, um, if you ask him, I can assure you, if he is any shade of the man that I know him to be, and he is willing to tell the truth, he will tell you that whomever is spreading these rumors, really and truly, is better off not doing it. I've lost respect for this person, and I'm not calling any names on the program. But the only person that has spoken to me with a level head since then would have been Mr. James. And also Stumpy, in the heat of the moment at the night where the match was being played, he was really level headed after giving me his commendation there, where that's concerned as well. But I just want to openly dispel any rumor that's going around. Myself and Mr. James have had good communication over the years, and in the wake of this recent incident, nothing has changed. So, utmost respect um, for Mr. James. Really sad to see where his team is right now, and I know he will go back to the drawing board and correct any issues that would have been there from before. So I just wanted to make mention of that. I know you were saying,
Okay. All
Mr.
right. We have two questions from Lyndon McCullough.
Right.
All right. You said links. Okay, not really a question. He said links appeal was turned on before it reached their email. If you understand what I mean. So
And my comment with that would be I don't understand what he's saying. Next question.
okay. All right. Next question. No, not this one. Yes. How can the president be a part of decision when he was at the center of the controversy? Could you address that, please?
I can. Um and I don't know where Mr. McCullough gets the notion that I was at the center of the controversy. One, I don't controversy is not a term that I would use. There were several infractions or altercations. Um, I myself being at the center, non-factual. At the first altercation, that would have been between two central players and an official, and then everything else would have been links. I dare say throwing a tantrum because points were not awarded because things did not go the way that they were expecting. So I was not at any center of any controversy. I was offered threats by players. I was approached physically by one player. Spectators had a lot of colorful things to say. Persons refused to move from the playing area as I had instructed them to do. Persons went into the ring. Whoever wanted to change score on the scoreboard, whoever wanted to curse and shout at other players. I was not at any, I wasn't at the center of any controversy outside of the fact that I was threatened and verbally abused throughout the entire ordeal. So I don't know where that's concerned. And also, um, my role as president was not rescinded at any point. So if a decision is to be made, then I naturally am expected to be a part of the meeting where we would be moving forward. So
Okay, because there is no disciplinary committee.
exactly.
Okay. All right. My last two questions. One for you is you ever the JDCA planning on hosting an international tournament?
Um, yes and no. So in our immediate future, we are gonna be having a five the hard way again. We have had very advanced meetings with persons from Canada, US, and also UK. we are gonna, well, it will be a for the hard way. I know that we should be sending two teams. It's gonna be hosted in Canada, and that's why I said yes and no. So we'll be involved and actively participating. We are sending two teams from Jamaica, one from, it's a JDCA select team, not a national team, as well as a team that's gonna be selected by an associate, well, from Western Jamaica. I don't. I think the selectors would be two main persons in Montego Bay, but there's gonna be a team coming from that end and a team coming from this end. Both teams will be representing Jamaica within that tournament. As it relates to the JDCA national team, we do have plans as well for next year. We already received invite from an association in Philadelphia, so we're also trying to prepare for that as well. But a lot of domino to come. From an international standpoint, Jamaica remains to be the domino capital of the world. So ultimately, we'll bring some domino back to Jamaica in the near future. But for right now, I know that we have some flying to do in order to do what we should do.
Okay. And the media would be there also, right?
Definitely. Mellache, you know your invite will come. Just get yourself in order and get a suitcase ready.
Okay, all right. My next question to Mrs. Eman. Um, what measures you have in place for a referee who are drinking? Because I have a lot of drinking alcohol. I have a lot of referee who drink and a lot of times make bad decisions and stuff like that. Mrs. Eman? All right, I need to add her again. Yes, your mic is mute. Trishan, Mrs. Eman?
Yes, sir. Repeat because I had internet issues.
Okay. Yes, the question is what measures you have in place for a referee while drinking alcohol or that are intoxicated?
Well, the referee that okay. I would put it this way: our referees, quote unquote, doesn't drink on the job. Therefore, the referee that was in the altercation with at that night, he was not on duty. Therefore, all our referees know that they can't drink on the job.
Yes, but I've been to a lot of matches where we have referees drinking though.
But no one complains.
Okay.
Therefore, complain. So in your complaint, you
Not
write
complain,
an
not
official
complain, not complain. Report, report.
write an official report to us, and then we will take it from there. Just like or they can call us or they can report to us and say that your referee is late, your referee is this, your referee is that, and I said to them, put it in an official report and send to us. You can send it either via WhatsApp or you can send it via the email. Therefore, everyone will see. We also have a JDCA referee group. We have an executive group, and all those reports have been placed in those two groups. Therefore, everyone will see so that a decision can be made on either that referee or on the club. So we have things in place. So we have already banned the referee. Also, he was not on duty on that day.
Let me just add to Trish point as well. In terms of the discipline or the drinking. To her point, I think that a lot of the clubs fall short on helping the problem, and this is one thing that I've spoken about. We are not at every game 100% of the time. We depend heavily on the teams to give us assistance in a number of areas, and that is one such area. When you don't give us reports, when you don't give us feedback, we don't know that these issues are there. So it's hard for us to impart on those, not when we are not actively getting those reports. I will say though that this year has been much better than previous years, because we did get an increased number of reports, and we were able to action quite a few of them. We were able to ban referees for a match or two as a disciplinary act, and we were able to dock some referee pay, um, also in trying to ensure that the teams have a fair chance at a game that is decided by their play and not a deficit from a refereeing standpoint. So it's just for the teams to continue to give us what we need in order to hold the referees accountable. And that is one way that it will become better from a refereeing standpoint.
And it goes two ways doing.
And from a club
Our
standpoint,
referees, our
right?
referees punctuality, and most time the team's punctuality is not good. They're
That
not good.
that
That
would probably that
Especially
probably
the
be
team's punctuality. Because if a game is to start at 11 o'clock, 11:30, just say we give them up until 12 o'clock to come. Sometime 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in our referee group. Oh, Madam Trish, no, the game can't stop because this team can't find a team, that team can't find teams. So sometimes we'll say, all right, just give them a little time to come. And then it turned out that because they give them that blight, both teams give them that privilege, then they turn around and behave as if the referee is wrong and all of these things. So it's not a matter of say we're picking up for the referees or anything like that.
all right.
Discipline goes both ways and respect
Yes,
in
that's
any
true.
game.
All right, your last question, Professor.
I just wanted to say that the I remember back in the days on this JDCA competition, there was a some template card that the referee used to carry to the games, and those and that um was filled in by the respective, I think, teams. I think there was a rating, a sort of rating for the referees. I don't know if Dwayne was aware of that. There was even on the venue there was something on a match card, and the board officials will, captains on the day will sign. So if
All
there
right.
is,
Um,
that
so
is something that
Professor,
probably could be looked at again. Yeah, go ahead.
so the rating is not on this new report sheet for the
Yes.
referees, but
Mhm.
it can be added. Thank you for that.
yeah, man.
But Dwayne will advise me,
Yeah.
so it will be added. Also, every game, the captains are supposed to sign our referee report sheet. So therefore, if something happened on the day and our referees sit there, write the report, they can read it before it turn in. I can attest to that.
Yeah.
And both of them have to sign it because they're on it. There is a part where the game starts, when the whistle blow, when the second half start, who sat first and who sat last, and what results there are at halftime, the condition of the venue, everything is there. Only thing is not there is a rating. So thanks for your adjustment or your
Yeah. Advice. And this is something that Dwayne, I think we, as the administratively know, the JDC have a step up, and not only JDC, just generally Domino persons who are, one of the things that I would mandate is for no game supposed to start without the rule sheet.
and
All right.
I'm gonna interject again, Professor. A rule
Mhm.
sheet is at every game and
No
at the
man, for the
start,
teams, for the teams, for the
sir,
teams, not
sir
necessarily the
Professor,
officials.
all right, the referee take the rule sheet.
Yes.
Therefore, the referee will, I will do this, show the rule sheet to
Hold
both
a minute, hold
teams.
a minute, Trish. Hold a minute.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
let
Go
me
ahead, man.
just redirect, right? Let me just redirect. First and foremost, a rule sheet is issued and a digital copy is sent.
Know that.
Everyone should have a copy of the rule sheet. Even if you don't have the paper, you have a document that should, I assume, is shared in the team group. So the rule is there and it's available for everyone.
Yeah, but I'm talking at the
I have
game
been at
itself.
incidents, and this is what will separate some teams from some. I have had games where a decision is made, and someone will open their phone and say to me, referee, see rule X, X, and Y here, and this is what should happen. And I will say yes, and this is why that happened. Until we can come to that point where players, and this is also a charge to the clubs, get
That's
your
what I'm saying,
players
Dwayne.
educated as it relates to the rules.
No, Dwayne,
Ensure that
listen.
they are aware of the rules. Wait, Professor.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Ensure that they are aware of the rules and they know what the rule entails. So that way, there is no miscommunication or room for discretion where the rule is concerned. I have
And
always said
go ahead, yeah.
a number of the issues that we experience throughout the course of a game is either where there is a misrepresentation or an absence of the understanding of the rules. And I believe we did a fair enough job in sending out the rules to the executives of the clubs, because we have those executives, the secretaries, and another executive within an isolated group. Mellache, you're a part of that group, and the rule sheet is there for everyone. So I don't know if I am the one looking at it wrong. If I think that persons need a physical copy, print a copy and give it to them, or send it to them so they can print a copy. But the
No,
rule
this
issued
is
by
what I'm
us.
saying. This is what I'm saying, Dwayne.
Mhm.
I'm not. Your guys are doing what you're supposed to do. You know, that's the issue. You know, the
Right.
issue I believe is that no official, no, it's supposed to be mandated that no game started without the rule sheet from the two clubs, because that can be carried around. Most clubs have a bag where they put in them domino, etc. That rule
So,
sheet can be one. So as you go along, it will be easier on the officials to officiate, because the clubs will now look at their rule sheet while when decisions are made by the officials. And I
Yes.
believe
okay, so
Yes,
Professor,
Prof.
you're just saying
But,
that, all
but
right.
wait,
So
wait,
start
Trish.
the game as a, what are they
Wait,
doing?
so you
So
are
starting the game as a referee, you
Mhm.
blow your whistle, all right. Everybody have a rule sheet.
Thank you.
They show the rule sheet. Okay,
Exactly. Thank you.
okay, understand.
all
No,
right.
so
I
it's
think
easy on officials.
I personally think that's a step in the wrong direction, Prof.
You feel so?
Yeah, man, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
If we have the competition coming in and we send out a copy of the rule sheet, my expectation is that the rule sheet is going to be perused and looked at by everyone to the point where it is there, the rules are understood, the right questions are asked, and all of that is clarified before the start of the competition. And that's how come we had so many changes when we were starting. I remember Everett, I'll give him a hats off as a secretary for Sawasa. I think he's one of the more potent secretaries that we have, because he asked a number of questions. In addition to Sanique, from Shiloh, I have to give her a shout out. Chanel from Central, and what's her name, from Village Link. They asked a number of questions surrounding the rule, and that's how I knew that the rule was something that was being discussed. They were bringing questions back to us from other players within their clubs. Our job, our responsibility is to make the rule available. The understanding of the rule has to come on the clubs. If there
Yes,
is
Yes,
an
yes,
that's
understanding
what
Professor.
I'm
of
saying.
the rule,
That's
All
what
right,
I'm saying, Dwayne.
then
all
that's
right.
what comes to the board. But we
Yes.
should
No,
not
no,
need to dictate that
So,
before a
no,
game start.
Professor,
A rule is there. We gave you
Professor,
the
no.
rule
time is
sheet.
We,
against us, Professor.
eh?
Professor, time is against us, Professor. And one thing I have to say is that from the JDCA give out the rule sheet, the anus is on the clubs.
No, that's what I'm.
The onus is on the clubs for them to know the rules or walk with the rule sheets.
Yeah, that's
You
what I'm
understand?
saying. It's supposed to be
So they
for
can't.
me. It just make it
And
easier. Let's put it fact. If something is digitally sent out, for argument's sake, and there's a physical one, I can guarantee you that all persons in the club, you have 70 and more persons in a club, 100. All of them not going to able to facilitate that
yes,
or go through the interviews.
that
So on the
responsibility
day,
can't go on JDCA,
no,
Professor.
no, it's not. No, it's not a JSDA responsibility. When the officials come at the club and say, "Show me your sheet," it's not on the thing there. It's on the clubs. It's the clubs taking that initiative,
Yes, but it is
disclosing that.
mandatory. It is mandatory for the clubs to get
Yeah,
it, but it cannot be mandatory for the game to start with it.
no. Listen what
You
I'm saying. You
understand?
know, the reason, is
That's
to
my point, Mellache.
diffuse. No, the reasons is to diffuse no for the issues at clubs between officials and the clubs. That's what I'm talking
So
about.
I
As a
agree with
member,
Dwayne.
as a member
They're
of
moving
SOASA,
backward.
Professor.
That is moving
Yeah.
backward, Professor, because it's
Backward.
what happened. What happened if the club don't have it? They're going to hold up the game.
Look, no.
Yeah.
Hold on a second,
Hold on.
Professor. Let me
Yes.
just hold on, Professor. Because I know that your intention is right, It's just that the methodology I don't believe is a step forward. I believe it's a step backward.
It
Your
can be.
team I know has several meetings per week, right? And in those team meetings, when issues come up or whatever relating to the game or to the rule, those issues are being brought to the board. That's what the purpose of your club secretary is. So, in terms of the rules, that is something that the clubs need to sit down and go through and
No.
speak about, so that the club members they all have a full understanding of what the rule entails. As Mellache said, we can't sit down on a Sunday and delay because a team don't have a copy of the rules when these rules were issued weeks before.
No,
That's just my
yeah,
take on it.
it's a perspective of mine, which you guys not understand what I'm coming from. The point I'm making that the JDCA send these copies, whether electronic or physically, to the respective clubs. There's no club that I know right now that don't have a bag where they carry them dominoes in. That same rule sheet can go in that is in the bag and carry every Sunday. It mandated that they should carry it, that make it easier for officiating
But that's something has to do with the club, Professor, not JDCA.
Yeah, but
Something to
guess what?
do with the club.
Listen. That's what I was saying. The point I'm making is that it is going to be something that benefit both the official at the game and the clubs. That's what I'm saying.
All right. So
Professor,
to put that
a lot
point
of
to rest,
times, hold on,
Mellache.
a lot of times when even match supposed to start, them even forgetting all them own domino, Professor.
Let me say something,
Let me tell
Mellache.
why it makes sense.
Thank you, Mellache. It's true you're
Hold on,
talking.
hold on a second, guys. Let me try to kill the point then, because we have to. There's one other question that I wanted to answer that I'm seeing in the chat, right? To that point, what I would say is what you are asking for, Professor, is actually there. Everyone has a copy or should have access to a copy of the rule. So it's not a case that I am going to say that a physical copy should be in a domino bag, because everyone has a cell phone and it would have been shared more or less to a cell phone. So the rule is there. The only issue is getting persons to have an understanding of the rule so that we don't have that confusion. But let's move past that point. We can agree to disagree. A
Yes.
question was asked here from Dwayne Henry. Mellache, what do you think about this game coming up Sunday? I already gave my view. I think it's gonna be a stinger. I love this game that's coming up. So I don't know what you say. What says you, Mellache?
You just have them.
Okay.
You just
Well, we just want to just get through this segment with you and Trish. Then we'll go on about the prediction on about Sunday.
Okay. Well, let me just I am on borrowed time now.
Yeah, so
You
your
know that
final word.
above all, I am a family man and I am 1 hour and change beyond the time that I was given. I just wanted to bring certain points across. And I want to say in closing, thank you so much to my team that has worked so hard without a single salary in the last 4 months. Thank you guys so much for what you do. Alex, from Domino 101, Trish, Lloyd Brooks, Mellache are basically a part of the team, an unannounced member of the team. You know, Bruce, who has been in the background doing a lot of work, and everybody else who has been affiliated with the JDCA. Thank you guys so much for the work. And thank you to the clubs as well, for the new clubs that came in and got an opportunity to see what the Domino has to offer. I know that some clubs are really optimistic and looking forward for next year. Um, New club, shout out to new club Fletcher's Land Raiders, who were able to win a number of games for a new team, and are already putting plans in place for next year. Some of the other clubs, didn't close as strong as they would have wanted to. But thanks to everyone who has been a part of the championship so far. Looking forward to working with all of you for many years to come. Thank you so much for having myself and
Okay.
Trish, Mr. Mellache. I
Yes.
will, and as well as Professor, I want to thank the both of you for the work that
Yeah,
you're
man.
putting in. Continue to do the good work for Domino, and may God bless the both of you with the energy where that's concerned.
Yes. And I also like to thank you, um, Mr. President, and Chushan, the technical director. I'd like to thank you all. In spite of the dispute and the conflict and altercation, right? This season has been a very successful and a tremendous season. And like say, keep up good work too, Mr. President. Yes. And we're looking forward to greater things next season and a lot more. And also thanks for being on the program.
Most definitely, most definitely. Thank you
Yeah,
very much
man.
for having us again, and have a good night to the
Yes.
supporters of your program and everyone who was willing to ask their questions. Thank you very much. We're glad to bring certain things in perspective. Have a good night, everyone.
All
Yeah, man.
right.
Have a good night.
Come on, thanks.
Respect.
Thank you and have a good night too.
What you
All right,
doing? Yeah,
same
man.
to you, Trisha.
Thank you, Mellache.
Yes. All right, my viewers, you all heard it from the president himself. Yes. So, the rumors that has been going around and all those stuff. So you heard everything that happened, and I think Artie did mention something about lawsuit. Yes, um, lawsuit in Domino. Yes, this is it. Yes, Artie, because remember that JDCA, the Western League, and also Portmore, they're all a company,
Registered.
they're
Registered
registered. So it's a company,
entity.
they are
Yeah.
registered. So you can sue them,
No,
right?
it,
And they can,
or you can Mellache,
yeah,
injunction, put an injunction against the for instance,
yes,
in this case, links, if they went to the courts, could have stopped this game from playing on Sunday.
yes, because they're all registered, they have to
Yeah.
and all those stuff. So they're registered as a company. Understand? So yes, Artie, lawsuit is possible against
And
the
injunctions.
Domino fraternities. Yes. All right. We have a lot to talk about, but at some point we have to just break. We need more than 2 hours or more days for the week for this Domino, Professor. There's a lot to talk about. But let us move on now, Professor, for um, the match last week, Sunday. It was what?
You,
What to call Nagazed versus Nagazed. versus who was it again, Professor? Not
Central.
oh yes, Central. Yes, we don't have any winner. For last week, Professor.
No, it didn't have.
Okay, but was it expected, Professor, for Central to beat Nagazed?
I probably had personal reason. I
Although
did
you did
choose
Central.
Nugget, yeah. No, I did choose Nugget to come out victors. However, for me personally, because it's a good look for Central coming through. So I think for Sosa, because they would have the most appropriate opponent in to finish off the season in style, and that is
Yes.
because Central was the only team that has so far beaten Sosa, and it was in the first. They have both teams in first encounter, so this will be both teams' last encounter. So it's quite fitting for both teams to play the final.
Okay. All right.
However, I did bring Nagoya to win.
Okay. All right. You sure? I thought it was Central. Now Central, you did bring to win, Professor.
Yeah, based on logics.
Yeah, you did bring Central to win.
I did
Yes,
say
and
it would be a fitting final if they won, because some of Source-Up would have to exact some revenge on their first game loss.
Okay. All right. Moving on diligently. We have Bull Bay versus Source-Up. Was that scoreline expected?
Yes, man. No surprise. No surprise. The score, the eventual, what would have the official score would have shown that is about 70 something, 70 odd. However, at the time when they throw in, but I expected the game to be in the eye.
I think that game would have been more competitive though.
Eh?
I think that game would have been more competitive. Source-Up versus Bull Bay.
Yeah, for most part, because they did play Source-Up well in the preliminaries, and they kept it up to what you call in the box. The last 30 or so games, they were still much a part of the contest. So it was a bit surprised at this stage when it's probably far more important. But then again, the oil machine of Source-Up really come to the fore. You know, it's 100% time. At the time when they meet Source-Up was about 50 something percent in terms of. So they are Source-Up is running on the 100 fluid now, past 87 and going to 100.
All right, my viewers, please remember to click like on the video. Yes, and also you can share the video, and share the channel. Remember, this is a Domino channel, and this is a channel that we all love, Domino. Right, so you can also share it to friends who love Domino and love to know what is happening. Right. All right. Moving on, Professor, to the finals. So we think we can raise the stake, Professor. We can raise it. Anybody who can guess, the first person who can guess, get a $2,000 credit.
Yeah, 2,000.
First person who can guess the winner and how much they're going to win by will receive a $2,000 credit for the finals. Right, Tommy? Tommy, how always I say to raise it in a $2,000 credit. If you can guess the winner and how much they will be winning by, they will receive a $2,000 credit of their choice, either Flow or Digicel. Tommy is here. I know you're here, Tommy. So Domino 101 Professor said, so us need to prove it was the fluke. Make Central beat them. So Central have to do it twice in a row now, Professor. So Linda McCullough said, so what's up by 40?
Yeah, man, about 40, man.
Yes.
Me believe you.
The Central by 20.
Me not think about it. Me think less than 40.
Less than 40.
No.
Central get it.
It's a for less than 40. I won't be on the show next week.
If it's less than 40.
Yeah.
No, so that means you will be playing then.
Yeah.
You will be playing.
Well, you see, man. I'm not going now. Come it or come.
Tommy, you hear what Professor said, Tommy? We can't afford Professor to not be on the show, Tommy. If less than 40 is not going to be on the show for next week. So like him have plans in the time, like him not have plan for come next week, Tommy.
Yeah.
So that's your prediction, Professor. So what's up by 40?
40 or more, not less than 40.
Okay. And Sniper, what Sniper say now? What's your prediction, Sniper? Although you'll be playing anyway, by the way.
It don't make a difference.
You know what the crowd know yet, Sniper say I sneak in.
It don't make a difference. It don't make a difference. It don't make a difference.
Okay, money carry.
Come and catch one to you, bro.
Yeah. Money carry says so what's up by 25.
We like it.
One pink up you play at the match. Domino 1-on-1 said one pink. So if one pink going to be a player of the match, that means what's his name again? Wonder Boy. So it's one pink and Wonder Boy Wonder Boy party. So Wonder Boy when you get player of the match, then Domino 1-on-1. Alongside with one pink. Go one pink.
First,
yes, Natasha Perez Central by 8.
All right. Everett
Everett. So I sat by 42.
Oh, my carry. Wait, even know in carry so what's up to.
So what's up? So I'm agreeing. No less than 40. Yeah, that's Sniper.
He's saying can't lose, but too much my win by. You're not saying much my win by. Sniper.
Yes, you mentioned it.
No.
So what's up win by 42.
No, man, a Sniper, me I say.
Everett, Sniper.
You know, you say you win, but me don't know why. You know, you must say that. Like, you know, confident then. 24. Who said 20?
Huh?
Wait, Central by 24?
Kevin Morris says Central by 24. All right, so who will win? Who will win this $2,000 credit?
24?
It's a 24 too small, 24 small for you, Professor.
Man, he make mistake, man. I might saw something of it. Kevin really said that.
Yes. But Professor, I want to have the winning captain on the program next week, Professor. What do you think about that?
Then the most one.
Can I have a winning captain?
And the losing one.
And the runner-up. And the runner-up.
Yes, man. We need to have the two of them on the thing, man.
The winning captain and the runner-up captain on the program for next week.
Yes.
Yes, but man. I think third and fourth playoff going to be this Sunday too, you know.
Yes, man. Definitely, man. And we are finishing on that too. Who you think I finished third this or no?
So that will be what? Nagahead and Bull Bay.
Yes. Good match up that.
Good match up that again, Professor.
Yeah. But I haven't. You know, one of the situation with Bull Bay I've never beaten.
Nagahead?
Yeah, man, they have beaten Nagahead a lot of times.
Oh.
But these same set of players, I'm looking at it. Either they are at classic or so or some. I think Bull Bay does have a problem getting past.
Yeah.
Getting past them set of players there. You know, those cores of player. Because at one stage, you know, I played for Bull Bay in his classic win the quarterfinals and I play and the semifinals. Classic, we did play against a classic team. And we lost. That I was transferred from Soasop at the time. I was bought in the transfer window. So, ooh, remember that match, man. And we played that game good. We lost out about by about 25 or so. Can't remember.
Yeah.
And
But
that
I realized one of the reasons why you said 42 in a professor. So what's up by
well,
40? So you know how the boy coming down?
when
When? Oh, you don't want to tell the secret. You don't want
yeah,
to tell the secret, professor.
yeah, if sniper coming up, we have to send for the film, you know. So we him saying better if him know if him a come, Hardy have to come. But if him now come, we make Hardy stay.
But I heard other boys already in Jamaica.
Come on, don't leave the thing. They don't say nothing. Mine,
Eh?
mine different. Mine
No,
different
somebody
Hardy
mentioned it in the group. Somebody mentioned it in the chat.
That's not necessarily true.
Yes, Andre, see it right here.
Hey,
Andre
don't say.
Jackson, but them now take unlikely still because all the boy came today.
What the man? What him
And
doing?
this person is talking to Sniper.
If sniper now come, we make Hardy stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Hardy's already here.
Then sniper is already here then.
But Sniper now hide. Hey, Mr. Henry, who tell him say you hide, Mr. Henry? All right, Mr. Bird says, so what's up by 33?
Yeah,
All right,
then
Mr. Bird. I wonder what happened to Donovan Davis, yellow man.
him probably listening, man.
Yeah, no man. In Donovan Davis now on the show and I asked the question, my words. Mr. President was on it.
Yeah.
Yes. So Nagas are going to win the third and fourth. All right. We have come to the end of another program.
They will not hear fruity. I'm too fruity. We not hear fruity.
Yeah, man,
Prediction.
Fruity Johnson was on, man.
Mm.
Fruity Johnson was on earlier.
Mm.
Yes.
Boy.
So it was bigging up also foul. One Jetson. See, Fruity Johnson was on. Yeah.
The board made the right decision. Yeah, right.
Yeah, the board. Yeah. All right, my viewers. It was tonight was really interactive. So thanks for viewing again. And I hope we have a winner for next week. But we have all different figure. 23, 24, 25. So we
Scores
must have
high
a
though.
winner. So we must have a winner for next week, Professor.
Yes, seems like that.
Yes.
It's
So,
one of the best. It's one of the best calls I see so far.
Yes, I wish you all the best. And good luck to both teams. I know we'll be watching a very excited match on Sunday.
And Bullby will take the third place.
And Bullby will take third place, Professor said. I feel like Tommy Yamount still. I feel like Tommy had trouble in the Professor. Professor, all right, Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown say wants to the final.
Final.
All right, Mr. Brown. As long as
you shouldn't be what you want to see the final. You should be in the final.
yes, I will try my very best to video the final, Mr. Brown, to let you watch it. Yes, because although Boom going to be there, they're just going to be there for a while. And so Domino 1-on-1, so it will be live stream also. All right, Mr. Henry. Sniper, I know it's not going normal, man. From your day you're out for normal. From your day you're not going normal.
If not,
yes.
If not a chance, man. When you look and see the 30 file up on the first half, the 30 lead. I think
but it's just one thing doing a Professor. You know what the difference with Central and Soasap?
Mm-hmm.
Not all the players on Central are name players, but almost all the players on Sour Classic.
No, I don't do
I
that,
was
man.
all
So
players on Sour Classic are named players. You understand? So that's why I say it's going to be that hard for Central.
But Central win already.
Central
But I
beat
think,
them already, so they
yeah,
try to do it again.
then probably pick the sauce up when it's green. It's right now.
So what's up? It's ripe now.
Yeah.
But when it ripe, you know, soft, Professor, and when it green, it's tough, you know. Them supposed to hard when them green, you know.
Yes, I tell you, say them
When
pick
it
it.
ripe, it's supposed to soft.
Guy in the bar have no use for them at the time.
No player can do that. The sniper might get pinned.
Yeah, man. And let me tell you, you're pin sniper for two, man. We plan, we book for that already, man.
Pin sniper.
Yes.
When the pin sniper, man, the person do not get a prize, man.
I'm a whole part time we do
Pin
that,
sniper.
man. We up in him, man. We book for him. What's I know? We pin him from him over there, you know. Because as I tell you, if him fly down, how they fly down too. Because how you do it. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You make sure saying get mark out of the game early.
Oh, okay. You are Domino 101 said. Yes, man, that will be good, man. We're aiming to have
Yeah, man.
camera coverage on every table. Yes, that will be good.
Central I go squeeze.
The thing is that now, you alternate the tables them. So watch a table here, and then you can switch your camera and watch another table and watch another table. If you could alternate like that, it will be superb. Milton said, sniper better careful because somebody in Central might get 10 love. You hear that, sniper? Whoa. All right, so thanks for coming again. So see you guys next week. Same time. Man. Professor, big up.
Big up, Mellache. And